And then when they showed Bernie very angry, they're talking about Bernie because he made a bad deal. He should have not made a deal. He would have gone down and done something really important. Once he made that deal, and believe me, he has buyer's remorse. You know, this guy has buyer's remorse. He looked at that and he was so angry when they were talking about him, and his people are angry at him, and they should be. If he would have just not done anything, just go home, go to sleep, relax, he would have been a hero. But he made a deal with the devil. She's the devil. He made a deal with the devil. It's true.
Unlike the Bernie Sanders race, where you won, but not fair and square, in my opinion. And all you have to do is take a look at WikiLeaks and just see what they said about Bernie Sanders and see what Deborah Wasserman Schultz had in mind. Because Bernie Sanders, between superdelegates and Deborah Wasserman Schultz, he never had a chance. And I was so surprised to see him sign on with the devil.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, both President Trump and QAnon have both been warning us about the satanic influence that has been permeating our government for so very long. Now, we ask the question, is there a more broad satanic agenda that has been infiltrating our government over the past several decades? And has that actually been what we are fighting against from day one? We're going to take a look at older Q posts and breaking news. You guys are going to stick around and check this out. Hey guys, if you're going to be in Miami this October 10th through 12th and you want to check out an incredible event with people like Donald Trump Jr., Sarah Sanders, Charlie Kirk, Jason Chaffetz, Matt Gaetz, and many others, I encourage you to check out the link in the description for the American Priority Conference in Miami. Now, this is going to be an incredible event. We're going to have a charity golf tournament. We're going to have a charity poker tournament. We're going to have a bunch of different guest speakers, including some really important people. So I really think you guys should go check out the link in the description and sign up and come meet me down in Florida this October 10th through 12th in Miami at Trump National at Doral on the Blue Monster, for those of you who know golf. And we're going to have a great time. Again, special speakers include Donald Trump Jr. and Sarah Sanders and many others. So I encourage you all to check that out, and I hope to see you there. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig, and as always, you guys know the drill. Thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button. If you haven't, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. So today, obviously, we always start, you guys know the drill, where we left off on the Q board. Q board is basically inactive right now because we're waiting for 8chan to come back online, and that seems to be scheduled for after Jim Watkins, the owner of 8chan, testifies in front of Congress, and that's going to be coming up here in the next few weeks. So we may have the site up before then, we may not, we don't know, but the last post we have is Q post 3570. But on this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about things Q's told us in the past, and what I think we need to re-examine are some of the very first posts where Q tells us about the satanic influence in our government. And why is that important? Well, it's important because we have to understand this isn't just a fight of political ideologies. This is a spiritual battle. This is a battle for the soul of this nation. And whether or not we're going to let it fall to the hands of satanic Luciferians who believe in evil, murder, sin, or we're going to preserve the dignity and honor of this nation in our Judeo-Christian values, which we have put into laws, which we follow, which is the tenet principles of how our democracy was constructed. So there's a very big theme here that I think we're going to talk about briefly in this episode, and I hope it starts a conversation. I'm not going to tell you anything definitively one way or the other, but let me just say that I want to start this conversation. We need to start going down this path, and we can't just think of it politically, because it's not just a left-right spectrum. It is certainly that, but then it goes further. It goes deeper. There's good versus evil, and that's what we have to confront now, which is the biggest problem for the Democrats and the extreme leftists, because they're trying to polarize us based off of these political delineations when we should be coming together around these common themes of good versus evil. For instance, everything that we've talked about with Epstein and Nexium and the what happened on Epstein's Island, even. These things need to bring us together. And I think that's an important factor that we're missing. But before we get into all of that, I always encourage everyone, please come back here, watch these last videos, share them on your social media. And the reason I do that, you guys know this very well if you've been watching this channel often. If you're new to this channel, I have to remind everyone that there is an algorithmic suppression at hand. YouTube and Google have been exposed by Project Veritas and whistleblowers from within their own company for the suppression and bias that they have written into their algorithms, which then go out and subliminally, secretly, without people noticing, they skew the numbers. They skew the ability for individuals to see this content, and they actively try to suppress it in an attempt to give an in-kind donation to the party of their favor, which is a violation of campaign finance law and violation of several other U.S. federal U.S. code statutes. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to think about sharing these videos. All you have to do is go hit the share button and get the word out that way. That's how we get around these people, because the algorithms are going to suppress this content. They're going to push it down. They're going to try to shut it down. I've seen it on the back end. You guys have seen it on the front end, and it's only going to get worse. So I would encourage you all to come here and share these videos, and also watch this video. If you scratch your head, go, what's QAnon the Great Awakening? What's this guy talking about? Watch that video. It'll give you all the information you need. So before we get into everything else, let's talk about the suppression itself. Here is a thread from this Patrick Ryan, who is the Emblem21 CEO, apparently, according to his Twitter handle. But it says, gather around, boys and girls. It's time to talk about how Google intentionally made itself vulnerable to AI warfare. Here's my cursory analysis of the Project Veritas Google leak. And it says, get the popcorn and listen up. So there are a lot of major points in here. I'm not going to go through this point by point, but what I am going to do is read a few of these to you to give an idea of what is being analyzed here. Now, what this person did was they went through and they analyzed, from a purely and ostensibly objective viewpoint, what the actual documents that were leaked by these Google insiders meant. And when they went through them, there were some interesting pickups that they had. Of course, they have these references to the people who were giving lectures there. Of course, radical leftists. The listen and believe framework for all Gamergate vets. Of course, if you guys remember, this is not a Google internal document, but referenced by Google internal documents advocating for strategic intimidation and suggesting tactics that put minorities at risk first. Adorable. So what they do is, in this document, they kind of uncover the fact that Google is outlining how you take people who are economically vulnerable, and that tends to seem to be, according to these studies, minorities, and how you use their vulnerability as a way to leverage that into positive gains for advertising. Yeah, that's what they're working on behind the scenes at Google, taking advantage of economically disadvantaged individuals. Quote, at the level of math, algorithms, and code, unquote, aka burying the censorship mechanics across multiple domains, not just in blacklists. When and how to maintain attorney-client privilege. This is a document here where it seems to be giving guidance on exactly what is said here, burying their censorship mechanics across multiple domains, meaning what they do is they hide it in the math and algorithms and the code, because they know regular people can't decipher that. Here's another one. This one requires a history lesson. Sleeping Giants. If you guys have ever followed this organization, they are a very extreme leftist organization that go after Republicans and Trump all the time. They coordinated the takedown of Breitbart News at the ad buyer level. It says, quote, we received escalation from publishers, unquote, means they worked with Sleeping Giants and tried to spin escalations as organic, according to this document from their own internal papers. Now, what that means, to lay it out in layman's terms, is they went after the ability for Breitbart News to monetize ads on their channel. And by doing so, they were capitulating to an organization like Sleeping Giants, which is an actual democratic, leftist, extreme leftist organization that infiltrated or has worked to infiltrate big tech and to spin everything to go against the conservative agenda. So that's one of many. Another interesting one, literally training Google employees in quote unquote resistance tactics with an eye for ideal photo ops. Given their control of image searching and facial recognition tech, this would give Google employees the chance to closely manicure how their protesters are perceived by the rest of us. So think about this. These documents are laying out how they train their employees to game their algorithms so that when, let's just say, Antifa goes out in Portland and starts beating people over the head with baseball bats for their political speech in a fascistic authoritarian show of force, they can manipulate the search algorithm. So when you go to your Google search engine and type in Antifa Portland, you get pictures of friendly people in little kumbaya circles, singing about how they're being oppressed, instead of showing you the reality of the situation where there are mass thugs roaming the streets, beating people into submission who will not agree with their political viewpoints. So this is just a sampling, and there is a lot more. This thread goes on. I would love to go through the whole thing, but I'm going to say this. You guys need to come check this out for yourself. I'll leave a link to it in the description, and you can read through that for yourself. Now, here's a big story that's happening. We're going to get through these news stories, and then we're going to get into what Q has told us about the satanic agenda in our country, so just bear with me. U.S. Customs and Border Protection computers are down across the country. Now, what does this mean? This means that if you are traveling internationally and you are trying to get through a port of entry and or any airport traveling international, you're going to have a big problem when it comes to customs because their computers are not working. Now, this happened today. I'm sure they've fixed it by now and have their computers back up. But is it any coincidence that this is all happening on the heels of what's going on in Hong Kong? You guys, if you haven't been following the situation in Hong Kong, let me just wrap it up in a little put it into a nutshell here for you. What's happening in Hong Kong right now is you have a country that was primarily democratic compared to the mainland China itself, and they've just lost their leadership or their sovereignty, which was removed when they became a territorial region, autonomous region of China after it was turned over. There's a lot to this, but the fact of the matter is Hong Kong is now a hotbed for the revolution against the authoritarian Communist Party in China. These people in Hong Kong have lived a life of relative democratic freedom, and they're really, really getting worried with the new tightening noose that comes from mainland China every day with regard to extradition laws. This is where this all began, where mainland China wanted to sign a deal, I believe it was with Taiwan, for extradition rights, which would I think work with Taiwan as well, where you could extradite. It's basically the long story short is the extradition law would have changed so that people who are charged with crimes in China could be extradited from Hong Kong into mainland China, where they have a 99% conviction rate in Chinese courts. So I'm sure you're getting a fair trial there through the Communist Party, which means that if you get arrested in China and put on trial, there's a 99% chance you're going to be found guilty. So this is what they're fighting against, the corruption of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. And it's no coincidence, in my opinion, that this all happens on the heels of our own systems going down, because obviously they're trying to slow travel, but could be something else. I'll leave that to you guys down in the comments. The United States Senate here putting out a document which I think is fascinating. August 14, 2019, so a few days ago, this was a document put together by different senators and sent to Steve Mnuchin, the Department of Treasury, the Secretary of Treasury. And what they're bringing up suspicion of is the past decisions by CFIUS, which is the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, their decision-making process with respect to its approval of the Uranium One transaction, where the Obama administration ceded some U.S. uranium production capacity to the Russian government. Now, what's very important to note about this is they're pointing out the connection between the Chinese government-linked firm Bohai Capital and a company named Rosemont Seneca Partners. Now, remember that name, Rosemont Seneca Partners, who was reportedly formed in 2009 by, guess what, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son, then Vice President or Chris Hines, the stepson of former Secretary of State John Kerry, and a man named Devon Archer, Devonarcher. You need to look into these people. I've been doing reports on these people on this exact case since 2015 or 16, I believe. So this is a big story that we need to investigate further. This is incredible that these senators have come together to write this letter and request that there's a further investigation into the handling of this Uranium One, in my opinion, scandal, with the way that Robert Mueller and the previous administration handled it. There are a lot of very important questions that need to be answered, and we need to figure out why that it was allowed to happen in the first place, given the corruption and the the lack of transparency, I should say, with regard to the process of how this deal was put through. And there is a lot more to it, and I think we're going to see justice coming there. So check the link for the description if you want to read the full letter. Here's another little doozy coming out. Gateway Pundit reporting, the intelligence community IG lawyer with ties to the Clintons, suspected of leaking during Hillary Clinton email probe, is now working at the ODNI. And this is what we talk about when we say drain the swamp. Trump is just one man, and these people have infiltrated every level of government. So you have to understand that getting rid of each and every one of them is not as easy as it seems, especially if you take into account the fact that it's very possible Obama gave pardons to all of these people before leaving office, which means we would have had to have caught them in crimes that were committed after Obama left office. So this is a very important point, in my humble opinion, that we have to keep in mind. Again, here's another example of we need to be suspicious given what just happened to Jeffrey Epstein and the fact that President Trump is tweeting out Terrence Williams, who is saying that saying what everyone is thinking, that the Clintons have a huge body count associated with people who are coming out against them. And apparently one of the intelligence community inspector general investigators probing Hillary Clinton's email scandal has had his house broken into and computers stolen and trash rummaged through, as a mysterious Jeep has been following them for quite some time. Now, I wonder if Hillary Clinton, Secretary Clinton, would have anything to say about this, if she had any comment. Perhaps we can get her attention over on Google. But Hillary Clinton and Google have, or I should say on Twitter, but Hillary Clinton and Google have created apparently a covert server to cloak Benghazi-era emails from lawmakers. This is coming out of the True Pundit. Now imagine everything that Q has told us. Q has made it very clear that Eric Schmidt, Google, and Gmail play a huge role in everything that we've been talking about from day one. That they saw Gmail, Google as a way to communicate secretly that they could hide from the public record. Because as a public official, all of your communications are, by law, supposed to be put on record somewhere and held in the public record for quite some time, whether they're confidential or not. And she tried to avoid that by creating this private server, but then also she avoided it by putting information through this Gmail server this Gmail email account. Now, the story that we've heard about this, the fact that if you guys go back here and watch this video I did yesterday about Chinese treason, which talks about the connection between Hillary Clinton's emails and the Chinese government, you'll note that the Chinese company that was forwarding all of her emails to the Chinese CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, they were using a Gmail account. And as we all know, Gmail doesn't erase anything. They keep all of your information indefinitely to lure over you and use against you, presumably somewhere down the line. So we have to presume that that information still exists on a Gmail server somewhere. So will we see the offices of Google get a visit from the FBI to gather some documents about the emails and Gmails that were put out. I wonder. That would be an interesting turn of events, would it not? With that being said, I want to make a note here. Mary Fanning and Ella Jones doing incredible work. This is one of their latest pieces right now, which talk about the fact that right the day after President Trump tweeted that his wires were being tapped at Trump Tower, the American Report and their incredible investigative journalists, the stalwarts there that are working very hard, were actively responding to this post and calling out Brennan and Clapper, talking about how they tapped Trump a zillion times. People, please do not forget the breaking news that they put out there with the help of patriots like Admiral Ace Lyons, may he rest in peace, and General Tom McInerney. These are patriots, U.S. patriots, who will go down in history as those who stood up for our country in a time when there was such evil all around us. And these men have stood up, and women, including others, have stood up against this. And if you look at their reporting, please go check out the AmericanReport.org. Look at the investigative work they've done into the Hammer, a surveillance tool, a super surveillance tool that was uncovered by WikiLeaks, which showed that it was possible to surveil anything, including major bank infrastructures. You could get all of the code, the keys to infiltrate. This is real. And what happened was there was a whistleblower named Dennis Montgomery, who was a high-ranking intelligence contractor, who came forward with 47 hard drives and turned them over to the FBI field office in Miami under the guise of Obama, mind you. This was back in 2015 while Comey was the director and Obama was the president. He turned over all this information that proved beyond a reasonable doubt that Obama was spying, in fact, with Brennan and Clapper's help, on the American people illegally in violation of every law you could imagine. And this report goes into how they were calling this out when it happened. But one of the important things I think we all need to just remember is the Hammer was originally located at Intrepid Technologies in Reno, Nevada, before being relocated to Fort Washington, Maryland in 2009. Why is that important? Well, as my sources have said, and I think it's been reported here by Mary and Alan, what is in Fort Washington, Maryland? Well, why don't you look that up? It's the White House Communications Agency, and it's very possible that they transported this technology there so that they could use it at their will to spy on the American people and spy on President Trump and spy on anybody who basically stood against them illegally. So the AmericanReport.org is where you should go check that out. This is another interesting story. George Bush. Now, this painting is another painting from the same guy who made the painting you guys saw in yesterday's video. If you haven't seen it yet, it's quite disturbing, of Bill Clinton wearing Monica Lewinsky's dress in the Oval Office that was hanging up in Jeffrey Epstein's New York house. And here's another painting by that same artist of what would appear to be Bush with paper airplanes and the what would seem to be two Jenga stacks that have collapsed, maybe representing the Twin Towers. But people have also referenced this to connecting back to Julian Assange's reference to paper airplanes. But that's just another interesting thing we should look at. You know, I mean, that's what we should keep our eyes on. Now, Q has told us in the past a lot about Satan. Many in our government worship Satan. These people worship Satan. Some openly show it, saying there are more good people than bad. The Wizards and Warlocks inside term will not allow another satanic evil POS control our country. Here's another one. Some things must remain classified to the very end. North Korea is not being run by Kim. He's an actor in the play. Who is the director? Maybe the director of The Clowns in action. The truth would sound so outrageous most Americans would riot, revolt, reject, etc. The pedo networks are being dismantled. The child abductions for satanic rituals, i.e. Haiti, and other third world countries are paused, not terminated, until players are in custody. We pray every single day for God's guidance and direction, as we are truly up against pure evil. And yes, we are. We are up against a true evil here. Here's another one from Q. What political leaders worship Satan? I mean, this is beyond me. Vladimir Putin quote, the New World Order worships Satan. Does Satan exist? Does the thought of Satan exist? Who worships Satan? And then it references directly Epstein Island. What was the temple for there? And of course, it gives the reference to the Soros, Rothschild, and House of Saud as being the 666 or the plus people who secretly run the world with their vast fortunes. And more, and of course, in December, a little bit after, saying Satan has left the White House as President Trump steps in. And of course, in September of 2018, we had this Breitbart article which talked about Pope Francis comparing the Vatican whistleblower who was exposing their corruption to Satan. Now, why does this matter? The media and the film industry are trying to promote satanic worshipers as the voice of reason against Christians, according to this Big League Politics article. But it's so true. This battle is not just political. It's not left versus right. And I beg of each and every one of you to understand that when I show these informational pieces to you, it's not to scare you or to push you in any direction or the other. I'm showing you the reality of the situation, in my humble opinion. And they want to push this agenda against us. There is a whole documentary about Satan, and I'm obviously I don't want to watch a movie about Satanism, but I did watch the trailer that is featured here in this article, and to me, it just reminds me of the fact that they're trying to normalize evil in our society. They're trying to normalize pedophilia. They're trying to normalize the destruction of the family. They're trying to normalize a godless, atheist, anti-Christian culture. And that is problematic when you think of the fact that we as a nation have to stand up and come together and fight this evil, regardless of what side of the political aisle you're on. I beg of you, I implore you, if you're left or right, just please understand that the movement I'm trying to get behind is the movement of God, the power of God, the ability for God to overcome this evil. And for anyone to think that Satanism is a voice of reason and humanism is out of their minds. And they don't understand Satanism at all. And they don't understand that it's true evil. How can you get behind true evil and say that that's a good thing? I just don't get it. And it really, really is discouraging when you see this as a broad message that's being put out there. And Q has warned us from the beginning that this is a battle of good versus evil. This isn't about left versus right. This is about good versus evil. These people worship the devil. They do things that the devil calls them to do. The devil doesn't call us to do good things or righteous things. The devil calls us to do evil. And in the name of evil, they will do atrocious, awful, devastating things if we don't stand in front of them and rebuke their evil and call them what they are, which is evil and satanic, and pushing an agenda that will destroy not only this nation, but the souls of every man, woman, and child in it. So I pray every day that we can come and stand against this evil together, and that we understand that it's not just about what side of the political aisle you're on. It's more about what side of good are you? Are you on the side of good, or are you on the side of evil? That's my whole argument, and that's what I would ask you all to ask yourselves. So with that being said, obviously, thank you guys for watching this episode. A few more things. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. Tell me what you think about everything that we've covered here today, because I always look to you guys to kind of get a better understanding of what's happening. After all, I mean, I'm just one man, and I'm just here, just like you guys are, trying to find the truth and trying to find my way through this crazy world that can sometimes be very evil, but a lot of the time, the majority of the time, is such a great and awesome place with so many great and awesome people that it's so worth fighting for. And I hope that you guys feel the same way when it comes to that. But a few other ways you can help out the channel. Look, if you want to be brave, this is a great way to do it. let me put it this way. There's this new browser. If you guys have Google Chrome, or you have Internet Explorer, or you have Mozilla Firefox, whatever, this is the same thing. It's an internet browser. But the best part about this internet browser is it blocks all of the ads. All you have to do is use the link in the description, click this button, download the Brave browser, run it on your computer, and use it. And tell me what you think. I think it's a great product. I think it blocks ads, and it makes life a lot easier. Not to mention, when you do download it, you'll be contributing to the channel. And every time you visit my YouTube channel from the Brave browser, they'll actually make a contribution as well. So it's definitely a win-win, and I think you guys should try it out. I've been using it for a while, and I love it, and I want you guys to go check it out for yourself as well. Also, come find me over on Twitter at JustinFormedU, the official Twitter account for Just Informed Talk. And also, I have JustinFormedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, where you can get links to all the Q stuff, different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. That's JustinFormedNews.com. A couple other ways you can help out are both financial. There's Patreon, Patreon.com. It's a crowdfunding website. You come here, click this button, become a patron. It's a monthly donation. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. YouTube is not working to help promote this content. A. B, they're actively working to suppress it. And C, they've demonetized 100% of the content on this channel. So with your support, we will keep going. You guys are monetizing this channel now, and we have some outside advertisers as well, and that's it. So everyone who comes here and signs up and does a monthly donation, and you set it and forget it, know you're creating content on this channel, you guys are the ones that keep it alive. Thank you so much. Also, I have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, that helps out big time as well. Before we go, we do a segment, though, at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And I want to read out of Psalm 36 today, which talks about human wickedness and God's love. And I want to share these words because in my humble opinion, I think they speak to exactly what we are up against here when I talk about the satanic agenda and this evil that exists all around us. But this is Psalm 36, and we're going to read verse 1, the whole thing basically. It says, "An oracle within my heart concerning the transgression of the wicked. There is no dread of God before his eyes, for in his own eyes he flatters himself too much to discover and hate his sin. The words of his mouth are malicious and deceptive. He has stopped acting wisely and doing good. Even on his bed he makes malicious plans. He sets himself on a path that is not good and does not reject evil. Lord, your faithful love reaches to heaven, your faithfulness to the skies. Your righteousness is like the highest mountains, your judgment like the deepest sea. Lord, you preserve man and beast. God, your faithful love is so valuable that people take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They are filled from the abundance of your house. You let them drink from the refreshing stream, for with you is life's fountain. In your light we will see light. Spread your faithful love over those who know you, and your righteousness over the upright in heart. Do not let the foot of the arrogant come near me, or the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers fall. They have been thrown down and cannot rise." Now, to me, that is what our lives seem to be about if we really put our faith first. Right? We put our faith in God, that whatever happens to us, we trust in the Lord's plan. We trust in the fact that he will keep the evildoers away from us, and the wicked will fall down into the pit, and they will not rise. And we, the upright, those who are righteous, those who are faithful, those who put God first and love one another and do God's commandments, we will be with the Lord in heaven. And that's the gift. That's the trick to it all. You don't have to worry about what happens in this world. Whatever happens will be a part of God's plan. But there's a much greater plan beyond what happens in this world, and that's the next life, our eternal salvation through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross for our sins. The sacrifice by God of his only Son, and the fact that the Holy Spirit lives in each and every one of us every day. take that with you and put it into the world and share that with your loved ones, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and even strangers on the street. That's what God calls us to do, because once we get that message of goodness and forgiveness, we're not meant to hold on to it. We're supposed to spread that out into the world. And that's my call to action for you. Spread the love of God into the world. But that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. Thank you for watching. Remember, hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And don't forget, make sure you hit it, bop it, headbutt it, elbow it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.